Okay, 5.2, task 2 tells us that Kim takes dance classes. The dance studio offers classes in blocks that you can pay for, right? Take this many classes is this much money. Take this many classes is this much money. So a rate, right? We're comparing different things. So here we have the classes, here we have the money. We're making a ratio, but they're not, right? Marbles and marbles. We've got classes and money. And we're going to work on finding out how much one class costs, that unit rate. So Kim pays $90 for every 5 dance classes. What rate can you write to represent this block of classes? So first we're just writing the rate here. So we can write it a couple different ways. So we can say it's $90 to 5 classes. I can say it's 90 over 5. I can say, right, it's 90 to 5. $90, 5 classes. I can write it a bunch of different ways. So I usually love to go for the fraction because that helps me remember ratios are fractions and I know how to do fractions. Complete the diagram to find the unit rate. So I want to find out how much one. Every time I hear unit, I'm thinking one, the unit of one class. So how much is one class when she's paying that? So here we're setting this up. We have our money and we have our classes. So $90 for 5 classes. And it's asking what is the cost? So my money, right? How much is the money for one class? So we can see that here. $90 for 5 classes. How much for one class? I love to put the labels out to the side to make sure every time all of these should be talking about money. This whole row should be talking about the classes and it matches up. So how am I getting from 5 to 1? We're dividing by what? We're dividing by 5. So what I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So we need to do 90 divided by 5 to see how much is one class. So now you're just going to tell me what did you do, right? We divided to get from 5 to 1. We had to divide by 5, so I have to do the same thing to the other part of the ratio. So explain to me in words, how did we find this answer here? Okay, now we're going to complete the diagram to find the unit rate, so the cost of 1 in the 8 class block. So what is the cost per class, right? Per 1. So I'm taking my money. So if I look up here, it costs $120. And that gave me the classes, 8 classes. And I want to know how much money one class was. So how do I get from 8 to 1? Same thing, right? How do I get from 8 to 1? We are going smaller, so we have to divide. We divide by 8. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top here. So this time I need to take 120 and divide it by 8 to see the cost of classes if you pay for 8 of them at a time. So E says to draw our own diagram to find the cost per class in the 10 class block. So the cost is $140, so you can do that right over here. So we have $140. Let's get our label. And that gives me 10 classes. And I want to know how much money it's going to cost for one class. So I can see all my classes are lined up. My money's lined up. I can do it the other way, right? Watch. I can say 10 classes cost $140. How much money is one class? All my classes are in a row. All my money's in a row. It doesn't matter if we put them on the top or the bottom, but you have to make sure they're matching up. So how do I get from 10 to 1? Look, how do I get from 10 to 1? It's the same thing. I have to divide by 10. So I'm going to do that to 140. So I'm going to take 140 and divide that by 10 to see how much money a 10 class block is. Okay, then F, we have 3 answers here, right? We know how much it costs each class is if you pay for 5 classes at a time. We know how much it is if you pay for 8 classes at a time. We know how much it is if you pay for 10 classes at a time. I want to know, right? We're going to compare the unit rates. How much was one class? How much was one class? How much was one class? So kind of this one wants to know what is the best deal. So which it ends up being the best deal. So, right, you have to pay the money up front. So either way, right, I have to pay this money, I have to pay this money. But if you break it down, which one is the best deal for one class each time? Let's go ahead and finish up that task 2 here. Just remember, right, we're making these fractions and we're just making them equivalent. What we do to one, we do to the other. Set them up as these ratios, and it's going to make your life a lot easier as we set these up. Line them up, line them up.